I wonder, how does Google autofill work? This tells me absolutely nothing.
Hey Siri, what's the weather like today? This isn't English. Ever wonder how your phone voice assistant can understand you when all it is just a voice in your phone? Or how your Google search can almost always predict what you're looking for? Used almost everywhere.
Hey Nelson, wrong way.
NLP is used almost everywhere in our lives, whether it be our phones or computers. If there's anything internet related, NLP will be there. Around the world, NLP is used daily, the two big models being BERT and Ernie. BERT and Ernie are both different in their own aspects when it comes to processing languages, and in some places, one is superior to the other. One example being in China. But how does it actually work? NLP is basically a computer's ability to process human language the same way as humans can. By breaking down a language into sections, computers can analyze each word individually and come to an understanding of what the sentence means as a whole. There are a couple of issues when it comes to NLP, however, the main one being context. Computers can analyze what each word means individually, but as we know, language mainly works on the context of the surrounding words. That's where a major competitor in NLP comes in, called BERT. Yeah, from Sesame Street. BERT is able to get context by using a bidirectional model, which means that it reads from both left and right to predict the meaning of the text. That may sound great at all, but since BERT is a multilingual language, and we know that all languages are different when it comes to structure and grammar, that means there may be some languages that BERT might actually underperform in compared to other models. One example being in Chinese. There are a couple of problems when it came to using BERT in China. One of them being the fact that Chinese had a different language structure and characters compared to other languages, which would make creating an NLP model that would be compatible with other languages difficult. The other reason is the fact that the Chinese government had actually blocked Google from being accessed in China. So BERT couldn't actually be used in China. However, developers and engineers didn't let this stop them from implementing NLP into China. In 2019, a company called Baidu introduced Ernie, enhanced representation through integrated knowledge.
To talk about why this is so important for China, we have to first know how BERT and Ernie work. We talked earlier about this idea of context in NLP, and this is a big issue that many companies are trying to tackle right now. One of the main issues they ran into before was that standard language models are unidirectional, which means they either go from right to left or left to right. Makes sense, doesn't it? Usually languages are only read one direction. But the problem with this is that sometimes the word's meaning usually take idea from both sides. So BERT uses this bidirectional idea to look from both sides to get its context. This works pretty well, and it works under two main factors: masked language model, which masks tokens and aims to predict that, and next sentence prediction, which trains machines to learn the next sentence and to predict which one makes sense. This is what makes Google such a good search engine, because it fills in everything what you want to say and tries to look for what you want out of a search. Ernie, on the other hand, also tries to go bidirectional, but it doesn't do it directly like BERT does. Ernie, instead of actively being bidirectional as its only form of context, actually takes a form under learning. Ernie is based on a continual pre-training framework for language comprehension, which basically means that it's very good at multitasking. Ernie trains on several tasks at once and accumulates this knowledge learned, and basically continues to apply this knowledge to learn new things with new tasks. Basically, this is how humans learn. The idea is that if you can replicate how humans learn, you can probably replicate how well they learn. So they try to apply this to language. Ernie basically learns how to learn better, and then uses that to learn even better. This keeps going on in a loop, and with more time, it does refine itself. So how does this stack up over time? Well, right now, in modern times, on January 5th, 2021, Google's T5 plus Meta model hit a score of 90.2 on the superglue benchmark. On January 6th, Microsoft's BERT, which is decoding enhanced BERT with entangled attention, beat Google by a score of 90.3, only 0.1 a day after. But in July 2021, Baidu releases their Ernie 3.0, and it reaches the best results across the board on 54 Chinese tasks, and it takes first place on the superglue benchmark with a score of 90.6. So, what is so amazing about these scores? Well, according to Superglue, the average human performance on this test is 89.8. So, how does this all come back to China? Well, let's go over the few issues we talked about before. 1. Most natural language processing models are English-based, and China is a Chinese-speaking country. Well, Baidu's Ernie aims to tackle this. Baidu is currently the owner of Ernie, which is the best language model for Chinese. As we talked about previously in 2021, Baidu's Ernie.3 is the best results across the board ever for the Chinese tasks it handled. There is currently no other model that even comes close to it when it comes to Chinese. So, to make the experience of Chinese users better, with this Chinese-focused model, Baidu is the top dog when it comes to Chinese searches. And that's not all that Baidu can do, because Baidu's Ernie is also right now currently the best model across the board for superglue benchmarks, which are still English-based. That means it's beating BERT right now, and it's beating Microsoft. This makes Baidu, the owner of Ernie, a global competitor in this global market, and a very big one at that. This gives the economic prowess of China as a whole a bigger boost in a global sense. Government aside, this also benefits the Chinese users as a whole. Remember when we said that Chinese was a harder language to tackle than English? Well, when Google is no longer a search engine option in China, this makes it so there's a necessity for a better search engine. Well, with Baidu, there's no need to miss Google. Most Chinese users are very content with what they have, and for good reason, because Baidu is the best at what it does. All of this culminates in the idea that Baidu's Ernie is one of the best things that's happened to China.